Yeah, good morning once again, everyone. So that was really an amazing business pitch. No, so it's no longer about an idea, but it's basically the father and son has developed already their own product. So they're already in the market and they're trying to expand their market. So if you follow the story, no, so they've partnered with around 4,000 stores. No, so they're asking for more money to kind of expand their operations and to support their product. No? So it's really amazing that even a 15-year-old boy can actually pitch already. No? And if you notice, so when we try to dissect their pitching, so they're a very lively couple, no, the father and son, and um, yeah, so they actually got the attention of the sharks. No? So this is an episode of Shark Tank, and they were actually entertained, no? And they were amazed with even with a 15-year-old boy. He has a lot of business knowledge already. No? So for us guys, one of the lessons from here is that age is not hindrance not to run a business as shown in this particular example. And the thing that we were also trying to discuss in a while, no, in the next discussion, the next session would be about intellectual property. And the father mentioned that the kid is being modest because actually it's not just one patent, but also there are other three patents that the kid holds. No? So that means they have around four patents. And so that's utility patent, and I think it's an industrial design patent. So these topics that we are trying to discuss is really, really applicable in the real world. No? So it's not just theoretical. No? So if you happen to hear from that and you listen attentively to the guy, you know, or to the kid and the father who presented the idea, so you would really know that it's not just something that we like discuss here, no. So it's really happening in the real world, and I hope you guys will somehow look at that video again sometimes, and then really look into the how these guys pitch their ideas, how they capture the audience, and then they're very clear in terms of what is the business all about. So they're very clear about um, the money or the thing that they're asking for. So it's parang everything about the presentation is very clear. No, so that you can actually like watch YouTube videos now, like the one we watch, to kind of gain something from these previous experiences by other people, and use that when we try to pitch for our ideas, no, especially for not only for thesis proposal, but for all other things, no, that like well, I think every day or we pitch our kind of request from our parents. Ma, I need a laptop. Why? Why do you need a laptop for things like that? No, so you kind of pitch also this the same things, but you actually went through about pitching. But for this particular case that we are trying to touch on is all about pitching your business idea, and we will go through a lesson on. I think for that video, the sharks who are the investors, no, you can treat them as angel investors because they're not like they're not a company that like um, parang focus na yung company yung mag-invest, rather than personally those investors are willing to put money, no, as long as they like kind of cleared those proposals made by the proponents, no, for that case. So you saw there Mark Cuban, who is the owner of Dallas Mavericks and Dallas Cowboys. These are sports teams in the U.S. Now, so he is looking for supporting the entrepreneurs, no, startup entrepreneurs, and this is not yet as I think it's not as prevalent yet, no, in the Philippines. But last week we saw and heard and confirmed that actually the Ayalas and the Robinsons, the Gokong West are supporting the startups, funding the startups, as long as our startups are actually or our business is actually fundable, no, because there are a lot of businesses that we're trying to put up, and yet for the investors, they may say that I'm not impressed enough not to invest my money. So these guys invest their personal money, the sharks. So referring to the video earlier. So this is one of the things that we might want to look into and practice. Now practice. So it takes practice to kind of develop this skill set as well, communication skills. Uh, I think we are trying to be awkward. Like maybe there will be people saying to you corny, but like speaking in English, like trying to speak English, like oftentimes I think that's part of our training to train our mouth, our tongue, not to speak, and we're encouraging students to do the same. No, so in the house, yeah, so in the house we have a policy. We kind of decided ever since when we tried starting family that for our kids to get engaged easily with their teachers or their classmates or read the book. So we kind of have a policy here that they would speak in English, write in English. But the drawback there is that it's they're having difficulty in the Filipino subjects. But anyway, so our topic is I mean this morning will be about pitching your business idea. Now, so yeah, feel free to open your mic. Marlo, do you have something to say? So I supposed to ask you, about what you understand and learn from that video, but we might be running out of time. So I'll just proceed. Now, so just in case if you have questions, feel free to kind of raise or um, open your microphone so that you can ask questions. All right. So good morning once again. So I hope you are there. So can you type yes if you're there? Good morning. Yes. Can you type YES in the chat box if you're there? So I can check it out if you're here in this Zoom platform. All right. So I get yes, yes, yes. Okay. So yeah, this is part of the recording now. So I hope all of you get the responses because yeah, try to check also the responses conversations because they are also recorded in Zoom. Thank you guys for responding. So pitching your business idea, this is how we strategize our presentation. And this is just a suggestion. No? So there, for me, I don't believe that there is one single formula, no, so perfect formula for a for the presentation. No? So you can pick the best things that you would like to get and incorporate them in your slides, but this is just really a suggestion. So usually, yeah, we'll be talking about the length of the presentation, the business presentation as we go along. And if you ever have some comments, feel free to interrupt me anytime. So just also there's I think you can raise your hands as well now. All right, so let's proceed. So I got the references from the video or from our lectures. So again, the government invested for us to join the LIF program from the Royal Academy of Engineering, and most of the presentations, most of the items here in the presentation are actually came from those learnings we have in the LIF. So specifically with Star Company who've taught this how to present your business ideas. And of course, some concepts and principles that we learned from the Asian Institute of Management. So I just want to acknowledge that not all of the materials here are mine now. So contents, we're trying to, we will go through these items here. We'll try to establish our goal. So when we present our idea or anything that we would present, we need to always think about the end in mind. So if you follow the 7 habits of highly effective people, so you can find a book about that. That's a very amazing book as well. So 7 habits of highly effective people. So begin with an end in mind. That means that all of the things that we're doing here, there should be a corresponding like outcome, or meeting your desired goal. So this is what we need to discuss. So highlighting the problem, structure of your pitch, So we would want to arrange our pitch, so that the audience will not be lost, entirely when it comes to presenting our idea, because there are presenters sometimes that they get mixed up now. So they presented the solution first without identifying the problem yet. No, so we need to have a proper order as well. No? So the story is basically centered on the problem solution approach. So as engineers, that's the same thing that we would always like consider. No? So there is a problem, and basically we engineers love that because that's a challenge to us, and we try to fix and solve that particular problem. No? So that's a problem solution approach. So we've been talking about value proposition, and this is really where we can like um, emphasize our value proposition for the product that we are trying to introduce, or the business idea that we're trying to introduce. So this is where the part that you guys can highlight the value proposition, because this is where the investors would really like think and base your business idea, your product that is already made as well, if it's worth investing or not. So this is one of the top considerations, the value proposition. So of course, it needs balance as well, but this is one of the major thing that many investors would look into. Now, the other one is intellectual property. If you notice about the delivery earlier of the kid and his father, so they mentioned a patent, and then the sharks, as the investors were very interested. Oh, wow, you don't have only one patent, but you also have three other patents. So that means that the idea is new, or novel. So the idea is kind of really like identified a problem and solve the problem. So you also see during the pitch earlier that they have this problem presented. You saw the tank, or you saw the some of the gallons, the metal gallons. You saw that the problem that, yeah, so the paints get messy, and so they develop this kind of solution so that as an alternate, to provide a solution to that particular problem. So they're trying to solve for the messiness of things like that, if there's such word. So business model, okay. So you notice during the earlier pitch, they were talking about, okay, I'm gonna be like in terms of the financials, so they're talking about how do they earn money, like in terms of the distribution, in terms of um, how much each piece particularly cost, and then how much they are selling for it. So this kind of things that they are they mentioned earlier. So strategy and traction, you might want to go back to, like, for example, the traction part wherein um, if you go back to our discussion earlier or in the past meetings, so tractions for a startup, it can be defined that what is your present stage, from the previous, from the very start, that you have started your business. Are you already like earning money? Are you having customers? How many customers do you get? In terms of the distribution, how many stores are you available now? So in terms of traction, where are you now? So in terms of traction, so the kid mentioned, or the father, I think, mentioned that they are already in 4,000 stores across the US. So that means that they have a very good traction already, and that one is very important as well for the investors, because the investors will appreciate that, since they will have an idea already that, of course, there are really customers about this product. So if we don't have traction, that means that it may be very difficult to convince investors, because wala pa kay sales, you don't have a sales yet. So these are all theory. So when you pitch your business idea or your product or your startup, it's really good if you have already a traction. So in your part, because you're still presenting this business idea, so at least the MVP supposedly, so the MVP is supposedly the best thing that you can present to your investors. So not just purely the idea, but really you have this concept made into reality. So that's is supposed Sidley for us the best thing that we can offer or do. Next, your team. So I'm getting ahead now of all this just contents. So you can describe your team here, and then financials and target market. So how much are you like would need, things like that. So who will be your customers, target market. So in our design thinking discussions, so we discuss about the target market, kung kwan ba na sila, mga youth ba na, mga adults, mga senior citizens, things like that. And you're asked. So at the end of the day, um, we need to remember also that we are actually asking for something. Now, it may not be financials, it may not be money, it may be something else. No? So we need to be clarified with that. So that means to say that at the end of your presentation, you have established all these things. No, that the judge or the investors, whoever who would be critiquing you, would have a good appreciation of our presentation. So engineers now, I often hear this. So as like technical writer, I was a technical writer before, now a sports writer in our school paper. And then it went, parang I used that skill not to kind of also embrace the news writing. And then there was this one speaker from Rappler that the Philippine parang investigative journalism. She mentioned that when she observed us there were 2 to 3 engineers who are part of the training. She noticed that really engineers are very good in terms of structuring our presentation, in terms of the flow of the ideas, and she was kind of impressed, in terms of like structuring, because you guys, I think you also understand that when you solve also problem, problem solving, you also make a structure in terms of how to approach in solving the problem. So this type of skills that our brains are trained. So of course, we're talking about mathematics, we're talking about solving electrical engineering problems or any kind of engineering problems. Our brains are actually trained, so that's the good thing. So these contents here will be outlined, para bang ano ba, no maayos sila, so we can have a very good parang flow of information. All right, so question so far? Any question? Okay, none so far. All right, so let's go to the goal first. So goal, provide a framework for presenting your solution and the necessary key elements required to focus ourselves on framing our ask. So this is where the end in mind comes in. Begin with an end in mind. So what do you want to accomplish after pitching? So I've been telling you guys about this. So in other things, you can apply these techniques. So focus ourselves on framing our ask. Okay, and then problems. People have short attention spans. People are busy. There's endless competition. There's not endless money. Time is precious. So these are the challenges of for us people who will be pitching our business ideas. And it takes a lot of patience, hard work. So they said that the millennials now, I know if you confirm this, tama ba? Tinood ba ang millennials short ang patience? Yes or no? You guys are millennials, right? Tama ba to assume that millennials, just like you guys, you have very short patience? Gen Z, Chloe, all right. Si Chloe said Gen Z, Gen Z ba mo? So, unsa may treatment? I think you guys, so fall in that category. Okay. Gen Z mo? How old are you? How old are you guys? In the range of 20, 22? Okay, anyway, so 19 pa si Laris. See, so you're so young. 19 to 21, 18, Matt said. So you guys are very, very young, and then of course you can yeah, so my kids, I just want to share this. No, my kids are really very impatient. No? So those are things that we need to manage. Very impatient. No? So they also want things done as soon as they want it, like order foods among cusinero, he wants it done, things like that. No? So yeah, so they're trying to be impatient, and we always have to tell them that you guys cannot get what you want as soon as you said it to the person you're asking from. All right. Now, in parallelism to this, the investors, no, so for example, the Gokong West, the Ayalas, if you pitch your business idea to them, you have to think that there are hundreds of startups may also be pitching to them. No? So they have a very short parang time to allocate for people who are, that's why there is this elevator pitch that we'll be talking about. You're only like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, you can pitch your idea and then that's it. No? So if you get a second call, a follow-up call, then good for you. No? So because of course these are very important people, they have money, but then they want to get the best ideas as well. So 2 to 3 minutes, you have to impress immediately the person. No? So if you go back to the video about the kid and the father, I think the presentation is like 3 to 5 minutes. So I don't know, no, I just have to go back with that and more on the discussion later on because the judges were actually kind of interested, no, about the idea or the business that they have. No? So that's one of the challenges that we have to face. So now we need to be really prepared. No? So what we think or how we present or communicate and ask, we need to be very clear about them. No? So it takes practice. No? So of course we need to practice when we pitch and go out there. We don't just like for the very first time. That's the only time that you would actually present your business, no, business idea. So basically, it takes a lot of practice. No? So ako naanad ko, for example, presentation nga, I'll just prepare it, and then once na magklase na, for example, that's the only time that I would try to explain. But in business presentation, business idea pitching presentation, just like what we done in London, so we really prepared. So I think my other colleagues in the Philippines spent a lot of time practicing, no, and I just my other friend, attorney Cruz, because we have a different mentor, or we just like strategize. We just drink some wine outside and talk about life rather than practicing a lot. No, but then when we practice, really, it really helps us. No, it really helps us like parang polish na our presentations and how do we speak. So you guys in the future, if you'll be pitching, take time to practice, no, so that the flow of the presentation, so dili ta magbalik-balik, no, so from one slide to the other, ang flow of presentation would be smooth. So I think that would be very, very nice, no, if we can do that. Okay, so yeah, this is just a problem, no. When we actually communicate already, it's parang train wreck. That's it's a wreck, because I think my primary problem for that is we did not prepare enough. We did not prepare enough. We did not practice, no? And the presentation material might not be, for example, in orderly manner, no? So that is a problem. So in all public presentations in CSU Bana or outside, we need to really practice. No? So when I say practice, for example, if you're asked to present a 5-minute pitch, so that means that your presentation material is already prepared, and then you kind of practice at home. Every slide, how do you deliver? What things are you gonna say? So prepare a kind of statement that you don't necessarily have to memorize. No, so kani po dahil, no? When you memorize things, sometimes because you're very tense, you kind of forget those things that you want to memorize, and you'll be lost entirely because you'll never know how to go back and present the succeeding slides because you kind of lost those things that you want to say, you know, when you memorize. So when the other technique would be so to prevent us for I don't know, preventing us to be a wreck, no. So like a train wreck during our presentations. So every slide, we need to prepare some very important points that we want to share or talk about. No? So when you put a slide, that means that it's very important. No? So you have to weigh in as well. No, is this necessary or not? Why is this important? You have to ask yourself. No, you have to ask yourself: is this really necessary for me to include this presentation? Why? Why is this necessary? Then those answers in the why, you need to put them there and communicate them. Okay, so that's one of the best things that we can do. You know, so always remember that when we present something, if the slide is there, that means that you're trying to tell a story and convince other people that this slide is very important as well. Because remember, you will be given only 3 to 5 minutes of their time to provide this presentation. And when we present as well, sometimes it's a wreck when people cannot hear us. Okay? When we have a very low voice, no? And then when you try to tell your story, people would be sleeping. So that's a big problem. No, so that means that we would need to catch and try the attention of those listening when we pitch. No, so that is very important. This is different. No, so this different. Pitching is entirely different from also presenting this education slide to you guys. That's entirely different. No? So notice again, go back to the video that we've shown earlier. So the way they communicated to the sharks and presented the business, it's entirely different than when you are presenting your thesis, presenting um, your class, no, to your class, no, presenting your subject, your this kind of presentation to your class. It's entirely different. So you have 3 minutes to 5 minutes presentation. So you need to be very fast and quick. That means that you cannot like include all the slides because you think they all matter. You have to choose your slide for a 3 minutes to 5 minute pitch. So you can have at least or at most 10 slides. Because sometimes the speaker or the person sharing would spend several minutes no in one slide. No, so there is also sometimes a problem. Now, I think it's not sometimes, but oftentimes when I saw this set of presentation from I think from the Indian delegation, the India delegation. So first 3 slides, they already like spent 2 to 3 minutes already, and they were given 5 minutes. So the problem that's the main problem that they have now. So they focus on the first slides, highlighting a lot of problems, and they kind of fail to catch up on the succeeding slide. So that means that when we prepare, we need to make sure that we need to strike a balance between each of the elements of our presentation. Okay, so I hope that's clear now. So there are so many reasons why presentations would fail. All right. So these are basically some of the rules. No? So elevator pitch 30 seconds, video pitch 2 to 3 minutes, startup pitch 2 to 5 minutes, investor presentation pitch 10 to 15 minutes. What are the differences? Now, so most of us start up, so we will spend about 5 minutes. So that is, I think, more than enough to highlight what is our business. This elevator pitch, parang I think I mentioned this before. This is just a simulation, no? Parang they call this elevator speech because the time element here is very short. That means that imagine yourself, Liza Gokongwe. You were there last week, no, in terms of the startup summit. Liza Gokongwe is there in the elevator, and you joined her, and then her floor is around in the 20th level. So assuming that you have 1 second to go from one floor to the other floor, that means you have only 20 seconds. So, like, you have to be very fast. Parang you tell her about yourself, and then you tell her about the business idea they have, and would she be interested to listen to you in a later time because you have this very, very good business. So that's when the time that when she listened to you, about your business idea, and she might be very interested because you're trying to help the community, things like that. So you're kind of very fast in terms of throwing your information, very important information out there. So they would go for an investor presentation pitch. No? So that will be a longer time, no, for you to present. So these guys are actually part of, I don't know, getting a second call from the investors. That includes also the startup pitch. Because in the startup pitching competitions, for example, you'll be presenting 5 minutes and then Q&A another 5 minutes. That's a very limited time, no, of course. And then if investors would be interested, then they will set up an investor presentation pitch. So that's the goal, no, to sit down with these investors for a longer period of time so that they'll understand even more about the business that you have. So usually, I'm sorry to feature this. So story, why are you doing this? No, so what is your motivation? No, so this is, if you look at this number here, this is slide number 1. No, so why are you doing this? No, so why are you doing this? What is your motivation? No, so when you like, for example, when you present a slide like this, what is supposed to be a problem? No, what is the problem behind this? So now you're telling a story. So that means it's a burden for the presenter to kind of describe this situation, no? Because this is the motivation you have. This is the problem you're trying to say or tell, no? So story establishes an emotional connection. So why do we need to pay attention to you? That will be the mindset of the investor. Now you are trying to kind of sell your idea because people are suffering, people are having a lot of problems. So that's why you kind of present this image, no? So if you present this image, what happens first? So investors were like, wait a minute. So kind of, this is a very this man has a very difficult situation, right? So this person here. So the mindset of the the investors, they would be thinking about, why is this guy presenting me this kind of photo? No, so that means you need to develop a emotional connection between that presentation or that photo to your investors. So meaning to say, we need to kind of highlight the problems that we are trying to solve. No, so that's number 1, the storytelling. So frames the problem early on, provides purpose and context. So that means that when you present that slide, you expect that the succeeding slide would somehow, provide an idea to the investors, that, or to the judges, or whoever the person you're sharing it with, this presentation, they would have like captured, okay, this is really a big problem, no? So you might want to say 1,000,000 of disabled persons with disabilities, for example, no, are suffering hunger on the streets, no? So they're not being supported by the parents. So meaning to say, that's how we, I don't know, kay siguro ang iyang business idea is related to putting up a parang community, no, shelter for these persons with disabilities, no? So yung ganana. So it frames the problem on. So the problem, what's the size and impact? So how big is the problem? Like kato, no, gayon ako, there are 1,000,000 people, for example, suffering. There are 1,000,000 with persons with disabilities are suffering homelessness, things like that, no, homelessness, and you can find them anywhere on the streets here in the US or here in the Philippines. So things like that. So meaning to say, you kind of provide a graphical presentation of the problem and how big is the problem to us. So you can also tell, for example, no, there are 1,000,000 farmers who have very limited income, and even themselves, they cannot buy their own food, no, they cannot even afford to pay for their electricity bill. So that means that you're trying to tell a story, because your startup will be related to helping the farmers. I hope you get that. No? So you kind of present what's the living condition of the farmers, for example. Your startup is related to, for example, katong agrikultura, no? Agrikultura nga startup. So his startup idea is to help bring the goods or vegetables of the farmers right to the doorsteps of the people, no? For example, households. No? So meaning to say, he's trying to cut the middleman so that he can buy the vegetables at a higher price, and based on, I don't know, he can buy the vegetables at a higher price sa mga farmers, and then murag equally lang ang price pag nabaligyan na directly to the doorsteps of those communities. Now, for example, us, no? So the buyers. So that means to say that we need to identify how big is this, how many people are suffering from this kind of problem. No? So remember that we are in the design thinking, and our discussions before, we need to identify who really our customers are, diba? No. Okay. In terms of the problem, clearly describe the problem, use easy words, be concise. So you don't have to be like pang sa mga literature, no? So explain the current solution. There's always one, set the stage for why we need a better answer. So if there are existing solutions, this is the problem. This is where also the part where we need to like highlight that although there are solutions out there already in the market, but it seems like the problem still persists. No? So you can claim that when you present. And that's why we want to solve this problem, because this is growing. This is a problem that is growing. This problem is like not being solved by other parties as well. So that's why we are gonna solve this problem. Okay. So quantify the impact, be as specific as you can, talk about impact in numbers if possible. So solving problems for, like, for example, in farmers. So how many farmers are there in the Philippines? So if you will be able to help the farmers because you develop this kind of product or device that makes their lives easier, make comfortable, or even provide return, a much higher return for them. So that means that you will be providing impact. If you can measure that, then we're very, very good at that. For example, if, for example, when you launch the e-agricultura, that would, for example, in a month, this would increase the income of the farmers by 5,000 pesos. So each farmer will be able to enjoy a 5,000 pesos of their income. So that means that how many millions farmers we have? If, for example, we have 1 million farmers, that means that 5,000 times 1 million. So you'll be able to generate 5,000 or 5 billion pesos though as additional income per month for the farmers by using this technology that you have developed, right? So impact, talk about impact. So that means it's not just about the money, but it's about also when they have this money, unsa po the outcomes sa ila. So they have better lives, they can afford to buy a refrigerator now or something that can actually like improve their lives as well. All right. So solution, what is it and why is it awesome? Now, so that means just like the boy that presented earlier, so they were amazed. No? So when the judges are really amazed with your solutions, so that means that you have a better chance of the sharks being providing funding for your business. No? So when the sharks are not impressed, no, when the investors are not impressed with the business that we are running, then of course there are so many in the Shark Tank series that we're not able to get funding from the sharks, no, because they have so plenty of problems in terms of the business itself. No, again, why is it awesome? So that means you kind of highlight now the value proposition, no, because you're better compared to your competitors, things like that. No? So you'll be cheaper but with better quality, so things like that. Okay. So what's your product or solution? Don't use technical jargon, simple and easy words. It's very important, no, for people to easily understand. Okay, why, how is it better than today's solution? So now this is where the comparative analysis comes in. So why is Lazada better than Shopee, or Shopee better than Lazada? Grab better than Grab Food better than Food Panda. So this is where you also highlight. For example, if there are so many players in the market, so there are many vendors or companies in the market, you would have to tell your consumers that even with those uh, available solutions in the market, they were not yet able to solve still the problem. And this is the business that you are trying to start is actually will actually solve this problem, no? End this problem. So if you can confidently say that, then say it. So if you can back it up, no, of course. So quantify the benefits. So we mentioned about, is it less pain, less cost, no? So much cheaper, less expensive. No? So the benefits. No? So you can highlight that. So in number 3 as well, what's your product or solution? Don't use again. I think it just I don't know. So in solution part, this is 3.5 now, the figure. So we talk about value proposition. No? So this is where you highlight as well. No, highlight. So part of the solution. So this is where the investors would really love listening. No, because this is the part that you can convince them to invest or not, because you have a better solution, better business with other competitors out there. No, so you will be able to do that. So IP or trade secret. So why patents? What patents do you have? So intellectual property. So it's good that we started with this video because it highlights that investors actually love business with intellectual property, because that means that they have better chance now of really controlling the market. So although we will discuss this in detail, but once you have an intellectual property or patent, nobody else can make, sell, and distribute the same products what you have developed. Okay? So walay lain tao pwede. No? So ikaw ra gyud. That means you control the market. No? So that means that nobody else, you control the market, and all the returns will be for you. No? Of course, there are limitations with that. Like, for example, if it's indeed a patent, then that is about 20 years. No? But if it's utility patent, that is about 7 years. So 7 years without competition, 20 years without the competition. So basically, you'll get the income that you desired. No? So things like that. Okay, business model. How will we make money? Of course, the father and son talk about selling the katong ilang i-develop na product. Of course, they would sell that product to the distribution centers, the malls, and of course they get a profit from the sale of each of, for example, if of the product that they sold. So that's where the profit margin comes into play, because you need to identify the cost, and then what is the price that you're selling this, so that there is that particular profit that will cover already excluding already the cost. So that means that's a profit that you make, so that you can use that later on in how you also run the business. Okay. Right. So we talk about the business model now, because in different businesses they have different business model. For example, Netflix, they kind of their subscribers subscribe to different forms of or category. So for example, they monthly basis they pay. So they pay for this minimum amount. For example, 450 pesos for how many HD channels? No, and then they have this how many. It becomes more expensive if you try to subscribe for a bigger number of HD channels, things like that. So of course, similar to the subscription type of business models are for example, the internet connection we have in the house, the PLDT, the Globe. So these are the different business models. So they earn from that. Okay. So how do you plan to go to market? So this is slide number 5. So what are your strategy? Okay, so reaching the market. So you need to answer these questions. How will you generate a consistent stream of income leads? So that means what? How will you market your product? No? So will that be through social media, to YouTube, no, to Facebook, or are you or can you afford now to present your product in national televisions? Now remember, a 30-second clip in ABS-CBN before would cost you 1 million pesos. No, that's very expensive. Yeah, that's very expensive to market a product, especially for television, because they're trying to kind of assume that over 10, 20 million people are watching the station, the TV station, and they will divide that cost. Now that means that for every person, you are paying 50 centavos per person to watch your ad, no, so in the television. Like, how long is your sales cycles? How do you expect to grow fast? That means that when growing fast, so earlier in the video, we've also have that example that distributions, a lot of distributions across the country would help you grow faster. So the question here, what are your customer acquisition costs in terms of financial cost and time? So that means part of the computation would be the cost that you would entail to market the product so that you can convince the customers to buy your product. So that is the acquisition cost. What traction again? What have you accomplished so far? So you need to to provide asa na mo karon. So where are we? So idea stage pa ba, or nana mo sa pre-development stage, or nana mo sa development stage, or you are already in the market selling, or you have already 1 million subscribers if your business is into like subscription, things like that. So what have you accomplished so far? So you have awards or patents recognized, or being recognized, because you have a very good business. So things like this. So you have to highlight them. So others would say that, okay, we have investment already, like 1 million pesos investment from investment A, for investor A. So those are part of the traction. That means that they progress already. So how will you be able to sell that to the investors? That means that, okay, nag-invest na dahil si Ayala, so mag-invest ko rin. So meaning to say, that would help you guys to get more investments, for example. Kaya lang, when you have to remember also that when you get more investors, that means the pie for you guys will become smaller because you have other players now within yung share nyo sa pie, di ba? So before, you have 100% and you're trying to sell 10% of your company. So remember earlier in the video, the sharks are offering, like, for example, 17.5% in exchange for 20%. No, I mean 75.5% ownership of the company. They're willing to give you a money of around 150,000 to 100,000 US dollars, things like that. So meaning to say your ownership based on the value, based on the valuation, becomes smaller now. Okay. Okay, team, how do you plan to go to market? So your team offers credibility to the plans presented, proof that you can deliver on the promise. So meaning to say, when we identify the team, so if you're into technology, so that means that we need to really kind of convince that you have a very good management team, you have a very good CEO, you have a very good product developer, designer, and then you have a very good team in terms of marketing your product. And when all this combines all together, then you have a better chance of getting investment. Okay. So for me, team is very important because if there are teams now, like for example, dili magkasinabot ng mga founders, or the team member of the teams in terms of assigned as the chief technology officer, for example, doesn't even know programming, and your product is gonna be a mobile app, then nobody would believe you guys, no? Because how you gonna make it this product possible? And not one in the team is knowledgeable in terms of developing a mobile app. No? So that's the problem. So at least man lang merong isa. Okay? Goal, build trust. Okay? So for example here, Juan Perez, ang team member, no, he's the chief science officer. So Juan lead a scientific revolution that changed the way we understand universe and won 2 Nobel Prizes. Sobrang po din, no? So that just means to say that, wow, if you have a member like this in the team, then meaning to say your startup team is really credible, no? So credibility is very important in terms of credibility is very important for investors in terms of investing money, no? Because how can we trust? The first is building trust. How can we trust you guys if we put this money 100,000? You will not be wasting this money. You will not just spend this money eating Jollibee or McDonald's somewhere out there. So that means can you be trusted, no, with the money that we'll be investing? So mao po na siya among problem, no, before. No? So for example, ang mga startup teams na money sa amo, then we need to really validate, no, if these guys are really doing something more than enough to convince us that they are worth investing. If not, then we will not be putting money. I'll not be giving 50,000 pesos, 100,000 pesos if I'm not particularly convinced. But if I'm convinced with the business, I'm be willing, even personally, invest money, no, for you guys, for example. No, personally, if you have a very good business idea, if you can show me your business, then I would be willing to invest. So this is just an example, no? Our CEO. But then, guys, you need to put them all together in one slide. So usually one slide lang, and then that's it. No? Everybody there, part of the team, and then kaning mura picture lang sa individual ba. For example, no, for me, Jeffrey De Leosa, Professor 1, Electronics Engineering Department. For example, published papers, presented money, meaning to say that's just in one slide. So you don't have to separate them. More or less, this kind of things that highlighted by the white text here. Our team of 3 co-founders is academy acclaimed. You don't have to write them in the presentation. You just have to, like, there are several pictures of you there. You just have to highlight that while presenting. You tell them, no? So we are the founders are academically acclaimed in the field with 40 plus years of combined experience. So you don't have to write that. You just have to say that those things. No? The ask. So what do we need help with? Okay, so we're going towards the end of the presentation. So it's like so you have this, are they married couple? No, looks like, no. So I think newlyweds. So before that, diba, in the US, mahilig sila ka ng formal yun nga ask nga, will you marry me? So kita yung mga salida. They go down in one knee. Usually the man, the husband to be, gets down on one knee and then ask for, will you marry me? No, so kung para sa inyo ba, ang investors investors, this is a very good photo, no, to reflect upon, because when investors give you money, that means that they will be partnering you for a long period of time. So it's like a marriage, no? So the question is this a marriage made in heaven? No, so when they put money, so they expect a return, no? So at least ingon na ang idea, no? So the problems with the investors here in Butuan, for example, the traditional businessmen here, they would invest money and they expect after a year they would already have a return. In a startup situation, that's very difficult, to tell you honestly, no? So it gives time, but they need, even if they will not, if I invest money, I need proof that you are really working hard on developing your startup so that we have a greater chance of success later on. So meaning to say the partnership should be made in heaven, no? Such that the investors and the startup team are both happy in terms of how these business arrangements are made, no? So yeah. So the ask, after the pitch, the audience should know why did you make the pitch in the first place. So it's not just presenting and then no, it's wala man daylain, no. So what specifically do you want help with? What challenges do you have? No? So you have to also make a clear ask to the end of your pitch. So that means that after your pitch, you need to highlight, okay, I need 1 million pesos. Why? Because this, and that. I'll be buying equipment to produce the product that I need. Or I need a mentor. I need somebody, a businessman who would help me um, guide me in this business undertaking, for example. No? So it's not usually tawag nga, it's not usually a money. But of course, last week there was this launch by the DOST that they're funding startups. No, so that means that katong mga serious na startups, the DOST are really welcoming startups, no, to get funding from them. Okay. Right. So investment, you need to be very clear about how much, and then you need to be able to answer the question later and why. So, and where. So where do you need this money for? Why do you need this money for? No, so you need to be able to really justify your ask, no, also to be clarified with. So customers, what kind, be specific, and remind us who are your customers really. And then if you're looking for distribution partners because you have a product that you want to distribute, so where? So is it in Mindanao, Visayas, or Luzon, or the entire Philippines, or even in the US, or even in the European markets? So are you looking for distribution partners? No, that's one kind of ask that you can also consider. Okay. So if you're looking for co-founders, then what's the profile of the co-founders? So you're looking for a very good businessman, no? So you that become part of your company. It's also possible. No? So you want a businessman to join your team so that because you are all technically inclined, you need a businessman. No, you need a CEO. So that's also the ask. Okay, these are some examples of very specific asks. No? So we are looking for 100K, which will allow us to finish the proof of concept by Q1 next year and subsequently apply for our patent. Okay, so in the US, it's very expensive to file for patent, around 50,000 US dollars. So we have a finished prototype and are looking for distribution partners in industrial automation such as XYZ company that can help us sell the product on the UK market. So that's another ask. Okay. So money and any other help that you can, so based on their needs. So meaning to say, you need to examine your startup idea, your business idea. What is your ask? So to make these things happen, make these things possible, make your business go from one level of traction to another, that means you need to identify the most important things that you want to ask. Okay. So optional slides if you have time. So this would also come, if you don't present this, for sure, the investors would really ask this. So you think you're alone in the market? Do you think you have a competition? And it's good, guys, that when you present in the future, not even in this class, but in either, if you pitch for your business, it's good, always good to say that you have a competition. That means to say there is really an existing market. No? So that's one. And then second is that the other part is that you're trying to kind of beat the competition because you have a better product than your competition. Okay, so it's good to always have a competition. Financials, proof of my business model works. That means that the investors will scrutinize our finances. No? So, for example, if you have already a traction, investor will ask you, okay, in 2020, how much did you earn or loss? Income and loss, no, statement. So, did you lose money or did you gain money? So, questions like that. No? So, you will be asked if you have attraction already. So the investors would have an idea already that this is not a good business. If you've been operating for 5 years and still you're in the negative, the investors would say, why are you still in this business if you keep on losing money? Things like that. Okay. All right. Unique advantage detail on my secret sauce. Sorry for that. Sorry for that. Okay. Unique advantage detail on my secret sauce. So if you have if you have a trade secret, please do not please do not disclose disclose your secret sauce. Okay. If you have a trade secret. Target market size and strategy. So this is also very important. I think for me, this target market size and strategy, we would be able to identify that in the earlier slides. No? So this is very important because the investors would have an idea how big the market is. No? So what is the potential for your business? Okay. So if they're like, for example, the Grab, Grab car. So right now in Metro Manila, the potential is big, no, because there are so many yet people that doesn't have car. Like in terms of the population size, 12 million population in Metro Manila, and then you can like somehow get also a particular. I don't know if you do the market study, you'll get the idea from LTO, LTFRB how many cars are available in the road. No, so all people. No, so meaning to say if for example, in 12 million, there are only 500,000 people who own cars in Metro Manila, for example. And so, meaning to say, there's so many people who doesn't have cars, so need to go to work, go for public utility vehicles, and now you're trying to offer this kind of services. That means that there's a big opportunity for you to grab. So that's why it's Grab. So Grab car, Grab. So it's a ride-hailing mobile application. All right, so that's it. I think that's the last slide I have. I'll be open for questions, comments, or suggestions or clarifications if you wanna have. Yeah, so I will be putting this on the LMS as well. All right, guys, do you have questions? I hope the things that we discussed are clear right now. Any questions from the floor? Great. No question. That means either. All right. None daw si Jessa, none sa ako, sir. All right. Any I will try to pause this now. Siguro later in the afternoon pa, no, because I have a to attend to something by 12 to around 3 o'clock. So maybe a bit later. Okay, that question is from Matt. No? Kana sa i-post ang PDF. All right, other comments or questions? Okay. Do not have question, guys? Okay, si Jubil. Sir, sa pag-pitch na gani, sir, unsa ang ibutang na mo sa amo accomplishments? Sa slide 7 man, bigan bigan to. Okay, wala na ko na nag-gets now. Pero in terms of accomplishments, well, what you can do now is if this is just an idea, then meaning to say, have you done market study already? Meaning to say, were you able to identify that with this business idea do you have right now, na by market? Have you been able to talk to your potential customers? Have you done survey? Have you done the questions? Like you've done a survey for at least 100 people that asking if this idea that you have is okay or not? Have you done that? So things like that. No? So have you validated initially your idea because you don't have a product yet? No, things like that. So have you done have you done your assignment in terms of developing the business model canvas? No, so do you have a business model canvas already? And what does the business model canvas telling you? No, so things like that. Meaning to say, based on what we have discussed so far, so that can be no, that can be presented. No? So meaning to say, parang sa inyo rin, because you don't have a business yet, you don't have a product yet. What you can say is that to the investors or to the judges of the presentation, for example, you are already ready. No? So you just need money. For example, you just need money. We have done our assignment in terms of looking at the customers, looking at the market, looking at how the business will run, our business model. We are good to go. We just need 100K and we're gonna be like running our business already if we have this money. Sometimes, like if you are into also the product, do you have also already a design of the product? So how will the product looks like? So do you have a drawing already showing the different components? What are the materials that you will be using so that your customers or the investors or those who will be listening from your pitch will have an idea about what the product is telling you. So this, Jubil, this is a very good question. So that's how you would want to like approach this exercise now, because you don't have a product yet, you don't have attraction. So meaning to say, you just prepared already everything that you need. And if in case there will be investors out there will be willing to put up their money, and so we are ready to execute this business idea that we have, because we've talked to a lot of people already. There's this investor in, for example, in our people or customers in the different parts of the community. You identified them, so you have a better picture about this business will actually work. Then that's it. Thank you, Jubil, for this question. This is very important. All right. Napabaylain. You can open your mic, no, if you want. If you have some clarifications you would want to make. I will be happy to really hear from you guys. You're welcome. Unsa rin na? Siguro. Siguro din ng bigan. How do you say that, Jubel? Bigan. So siguro. Bagan? Okay. All right. Okay, thank you, Colonel, as well. All right. So I hope it's safe to assume that you guys get what we tried to here, no? So yeah, so on Thursday we will have a university-wide accomplishment assessment, for the different offices under the Office of the Vice President for Research, Innovation, Extension. So I will not be around. That would schedule would be Thursday and Friday. So I will not be around. So we'll have our class on Monday and next week, and Monday and Thursday, no, and we'll be talking about. I don't know if it's gonna be a holiday. There's no official notice yet that it's gonna be a holiday, 29/30, the national vaccination. So if it's not a holiday, then we will have a class. No, we'll have a class, and then it's gonna be December already. Wow, how fast! Happy Merry Christmas sa inyong tanan. So thank you sa inyong mga regalo daan. No, so we will have the pitching by 17. No? So by 17, December 16. Sorry. December 16. So if we'll be finished during that time, then December 16, then December 20, all right? Okay. Just before the Christmas, I just want to know. Okay, Juniel, Jan. Sir, may advantage ba if my startup ka without much accomplishments from investors? Like student pa ang nag-startup? Okay. So, thank you, Juniel. No? So, it's gonna be challenging, no, for investors. So, there's this one thing that we usually do, um, also based from the discussion last week, no, from the different panel, when we do business daw, um, asking for money from the investors, it should be the last thing that we wanna do unless kung wala kita lain source, no. So from the very start, when we try to make our startup daw, the nearest people who can help support us, our friends, no, our friends. You pitch your idea to your friends and ask for money to your parents, to anybody that is close enough that they're willing, close to you, that are willing to help provide support and help. And that's also where the test comes in, no, because at the very start you will try to convince your parents, your friends, na I have a very good business idea, but unfortunately I don't have money, so that's why I'm pitching this to you, because you know you can trust me, no? So nobody else can trust me. So investors at this very stage will not be able to trust me because, of course, they don't know me yet. But you guys, my friends, my parents, my relatives, my uncles, lolo, lola, who have money, then those guys are the first investors that you can find. No? So that means that, of course, when you do that, and then later on present to really the real investors, and then you were able to kind of establish your startup business, then they will be very much impressed. The two guys that presented earlier, the father and son, of course, they started using their own money. So they did not pitch investors. Until such time they were able to start their business. That's the only time that they ask money for the sharks. I hope na gets ni mo, Juniel. No? So ang investors mas mo believe sila if you guys makadiskarte at the earlier part of the business, no. So that's the time, no. So I see that happen na diri sa Pilipinas, mga taga Bukidnon, ICT graduate siya, wagid siya nagkuha ng negosyo gid siya related to ICT because that's what he loves doing. And then parang kwan gyud kanang, of course, in a startup, wala klarong income, wala klaro ano, because you're trying to build your startup, no. So this is a major challenge in the Philippines. And then later on, karon, because he was able to really develop products and the DOST saw that, so ang DOST nag-provide sila og grant, no, pila ka million. So meaning to say that is a startup, tsaga-tsaga gid siya, no, at the start, try to develop your startup. And the good thing for you guys to start is at your age, no, because at your age, you're still being financed by your parents. They provide you money yet, or still, no. So at this point of time, you can somehow develop that business idea, no? And then hopefully grow that business, and then you can ask and pitch your business idea or your business really with traction already with the real investors. So yan, so hopefully. Okay. So it's difficult to get money if those guys, the real investors, like for example, Go Kongwe. So you need to be able to develop a startup that would kind of parang convince them, emotionally convince them. For example, I think, like for example, if your business is parang, I don't know, social enterprise, you're trying to help the farmers. I think these guys, the Ayalas, the ano, so more than money in itself, they would be happy to help startups that, especially that you're dealing with a good cause. But most importantly, even with that, you still earn, no, because you need to sustain your startup. Okay, so mga ginaingon nila, no, money is not the end but a means to an end, di ba? So hopefully guys, ingon na siya, no. All right. So okay, any questions or clarification? Okay, for students, basically, I just want to expound on that. If you have a very good startup idea, then the DOST would be willing to hear. So grant na siya. And the good thing about the DOST and the government grants, they don't want to get a slice of your your company. No, unlike sa mga kuan ba, unlike sa mga sharks, Okay, I'll give you 100,000 US dollars, but in return, I need to ask 20% of your company. Okay, so sa grant, sa government grants, no, the government will not ask you that you need to give them 20% ownership of your company. So that's the beauty about the grant, startup grant. So always seek first for grant before going to the investors or going for bank loans. No, so bank loans is the last parang last na gina siya nga activity. All right? So I think we don't have questions anymore. So it's almost 12 o'clock. So I want you guys to say thank you for joining this class this morning. I hope you have a very good week. The rest of the week, no, it's because it's still Monday. And enjoy your lunch. And God bless everyone. Keep safe. Keep healthy. All right. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you, Pod. Okay. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everybody.